FRQ that we wrote a few tests ago. And this one was about Damien. Damien spends a great deal of time playing video games. He prefers complex games that require skills in moving from one level of competence to the next. He regularly compares his progress with that of his online friends and gets tips from them for more successful strategies. Damien's parents are concerned because Damien has been missing meals, has lost weight, and has no effort to complete his college applications. I wonder why. So the first part was on explaining how Damien's parents could use behavioral approach to get him to apply to college using fixed ratio schedule. So, ladies and gentlemen, some of you hit behavioral approach, and some of you use some terms, but it said to explain, and it said how. Okay, so it's explain and then how. So if you just use some nice terms about behaviorism, that's great, but you might not have gotten the point because it wasn't specific enough. Fixed ratio. You probably should have hit something like this example right here. Damien's parents could utilize behavioral approach through a conditional fixed ratio of college applications to video games. So it's that ratio of college applications to video games. If that's all that they put, that's not explaining how, okay? It needs to be a little bit more than that, okay? Damien clearly enjoys video games and games that allow him to move from levels of competence. That was bonus. That didn't need to be put in there, but that was nice. And a fixed ratio satisfies both of these by allowing time for Damien to play video games after he finishes a college application and eats dinner. I like that they mentioned and eats dinner. You kind of need to eat, you know? Damien both gets the joy of video games and remains responsible. Okay, that was explaining. This one right here, that one was from a senior. This one's also from a senior. We love our seniors here at CHS. This one was just right on the money with everything. It just put it so succinctly. Using a behavioral approach, they could reward him with a token system. Ooh, a nice term. Did they have to use that term? No, they didn't. Okay, it didn't say, identify a term, whatever. But it's nice that they put that in there, okay? On a fixed ratio schedule. This means that when he finishes one application or part of it, I love that they put or part of it, let's not get way too ambitious here, right? A set check mark, he will receive a reward, okay? So one application, receive a reward, okay? They could have explained what the reward was and everything, but that was enough right there. So could have explained a little bit more, but yes, they get that idea there. But then let's look at the next question. Next question again says, explain. Explain what? Explain how. A psychoanalyst could use free association with Damien. Can somebody remind me what is free association? Some of you mentioned everything about psychoanalytics. Okay, and it was beautiful. You mentioned, the superego, and the id and the super-id and the ego, the superego and the id, right? Or the id. But you failed to mention really what free association is. Help me out. Free association.
Free association is when you sit down next to a therapist or some sort of psychologist, and you just start talking about your problems or any struggles you're having, and they'll just freely interpret anything that you're saying, and the psychologist will come to conclusions about what your problem is and how to solve it.
Very good. Okay, so it has to do with talking, and some of you mentioned, hey, it has to do with talking, but that's kind of all that you put, and you didn't explain it too much. Ladies and gentlemen, don't just identify what free association is, okay? Has to do with talking, but let's see this example. A psychoanalyst would allow Damien's mind to flow with free association, okay? Whatever Damien would like to say, about what's been going on will guide the therapist's appointment, okay? I like that idea of guiding therapist appointment. Another example is psychoanalyst would simply let Damien speak until his subconscious reveals itself. In doing this, a psychoanalyst may assess Damien's true motives, why he escapes reality by playing video games, and why he remains so careless about his future. So those are two examples of that. Then you had where you were picking either biomedical, community, humanistic, cognitive, and most of you did great with that. If you picked cognitive, you really need to focus on the why factor, okay? Let's see, cognitive. I'm looking if I have an example of cognitive. Of course. With a cognitive approach, Damien would need to focus on how he is interpreting. Ooh, there you go, the why, interpreting his situation. A friend of his may have been rejected, causing him to have a cognitive distortion in thinking that if his friend didn't succeed, he definitely won't. Okay, the therapist would need to think through with him the evidence or proof that this may not be accurate or necessarily true. Okay, so that's a good example of cognitive. If it was humanistic, and a lot of you wrote on humanistic, another approach would be humanistic one, helping Damien realize his true potential. Perhaps Damien feels distress at not being his ideal self. Most of you, when you saw humanism, you saw, oh, true potential, ideal self. Oh, yes, they need to be congruent. This is great. Through active listening, a humanist could encourage Damien to realize his worth and potential and help him invest in the future. So are there any questions on this FRQ? Does it kind of make sense of where maybe you missed a point? Okay, any other questions on it? Fantastic.